She left me for a better man her family chose. Now she's desperate to get me back. I still remember the day we met. I was 25, building a small tech startup out of my friend's garage. She was 22, fresh out of college, full of dreams and fire. Her name was Emily. She was smart, curious, and had this laugh that could stop you mid-thought. It wasn't love at first sight, but it didn't take long. Within weeks, we were inseparable. We built memories on coffee shop dates and late-night coding sessions. She brought color into my grayscale world, and I loved her fully, truly. For 4 years, we grew together. I thought we were heading toward forever. But here's the thing. Emily came from a wealthy family, the kind that sipped wine with pinkies up and had expectations for their daughter. And me? I was just a guy with a dream, a second-hand car, and maxed out credit cards. Her parents tolerated me at first. Barely. Polite smiles. Awkward questions. So, when will you get a real job? Are you sure this startup thing isn't just a phase? Emily always defended me, until she didn't. It started with small things. She canceled date nights to go to family dinners. She stopped inviting me to events. She started saying things like, my parents are just trying to protect me. And then, one night, after we just celebrated closing a small seed funding round, she dropped the bomb. I don't think we should see each other anymore. Just like that. For years gone, I was stunned. Why? I asked. Did I do something wrong? Her eyes filled with guilt, but her voice was cold. It's not you. It's just my family doesn't see a future with you. And honestly, I've been thinking the same. She told me she'd met someone else, a man named Daniel. Tall, handsome, came from a good family, stable job, rich parents, the whole package. He's the kind of guy I can build a life with, she said. He's safe. But you know what stung the most? Her next words, you have potential, but I need someone real. Like I was a placeholder, a pit stop, a warm-up act before the main show. And just like that, she left. And the worst part? Her entire family celebrated it, like she dodged a bullet, like I had been dragging her down for 4 years. I disappeared from her life. No contact, no closure, but I didn't stay down. When Emily left, I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I wandered like a ghost, surviving each day as if it were a duty. Every night, I asked myself, could I have changed something? If I were richer, stronger, would she have stayed? But then one night, I looked at myself in the mirror. Dark circles under my eyes, messy hair, spirit shattered, and I hated the man staring back at me. Not because he had just lost the woman he loved, but because he had let others define his worth. That night, I made a promise to myself. If they think I'm not good enough, I'll show the world just how wrong they are. I threw myself into work like a wounded animal, silent, relentless, with nothing left to lose. No one left to impress. No one left to please. Just one goal. Success. I studied like a man possessed. I devoured books, analyzed business models, joined late-night webinars. I texted, called, met with every potential investor I could find. Every time I was rejected, I bowed my head and kept going. 1 year later, my company's first product launched. No one believed it would work, but exploded. People started mentioning my name in the industry. Customers poured in. Revenue skyrocketed. I hired staff, opened offices, expanded operations. Every time I saw the account balance climb, I remembered the day she told me, I need a real man. I had become that man. 3 years after our breakup, my company was valued at $50 million. I didn't show off. I didn't drive a fancy car past her house. I didn't reply. Even when I saw old messages from Emily sitting quietly in my inbox, I just lived. And then fate brought someone new into my life. Her name was Lana, an interior designer, not from a wealthy family, no powerful relatives, but she believed in me, even when I was just a man with calloused hands and unshaped dreams. She didn't ask how much money I made. She only cared if I was getting enough sleep, if I'd had breakfast, if my workday had gone okay. I proposed to her with a ring that wasn't extravagant, but held my whole heart. And she said yes, without hesitation. Now I have a career, a partner who walks beside me, not behind me, a life that makes me wake up every morning with a smile on my face. I once thought I had lost everything, but in truth, I only lost someone who never deserved to stay. It was a beautiful day. I had been invited for an interview on a TV show featuring successful young entrepreneurs. We were filming at a large studio in the north of the city. Professional crew, bright lights, and a host with prep questions about my journey. The struggles, the failures, and the breakthrough. I wore a tailored gray suit, simple yet elegant. Outside, Lana held my hand and said, "Just be yourself." I stepped in, ready for the shoot. And then, as if fate had a cruel sense of humor, she was there. Emily, not as an audience member, not as the host. She was the editorial assistant, the one in charge of coordinating guests for that day's show. I froze. So did she. Her eyes widened. Her hands trembled as she looked at me. The man she once walked away from, now standing tall, confident, and successful. After the recording, she waited for me in the parking lot. "Do you still think about me?" Her voice was barely above a whisper. I didn't answer. I just looked into her eyes, no longer filled with pride, just confusion and regret. She continued, "He left me, right after my parents forced us to marry. He started growing cold. My parents were ashamed, too embarrassed to face our relatives. And I was left with nothing." I nodded. "I know. I used to think, if only you had money, if only you knew how to flatter my parents, maybe." I smiled gently. "That's enough, Emily. Everything ended the day you chose to leave me." She started to cry. "You used to love me. Don't you want to forgive me, even just a little?" I looked into the distance, towards the car where Lana was waiting, holding a cup of milk tea, her eyes sparkling with joy as she saw me coming out. I turned back to Emily. "I did love you, but now I love the woman who chose me when I had nothing. And I'm not looking back." I walked away, light as air, leaving behind the dusty years of a love that once broke me. I thought after the encounter at the studio, Emily would get the message and back off. I was wrong. A week later, Lana handed me my phone with a strange look on her face. She said, "A strange number texted you. I didn't open it. You should take a look." I checked. The message came from an unsaved number. "Do you remember that first rainy night we kissed at the bus station?" I still remember every detail. Attached was an old photo. Me and Emily. Back when we were in love. A photo only she could have kept. I sighed. Emily had just begun a twisted little game. Memory, manipulation, possession, skull and crossbones. The messages kept coming. At first, full of regret, drenched in nostalgia. I was foolish. I was stupid. "You're the only man who ever truly loved me." Then they turned jealous, bitter. "What does she have that I don't? You think she loves you the way I did?" Then the threats came. "If you don't talk to me, I'll go to her. I'll tell her everything." I said nothing. I didn't react. Fire. Then one evening, Lana came home looking shaken. "There was a woman at the restaurant today. She said, 'She's your ex.'" It felt like a punch to the chest. "What did she say to you?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. Lana replied, "She told me I'm living in a fantasy, that you're two-faced, that I should dig deeper into your past, because you cheated on her. She said, 'You're a fraud.'" I gave a sad smile, not because of what Emily said, but because I knew she'd do this. I'd hoped she'd hold on to a shred of dignity, but she burned the last piece of herself she had left. That night, I sat down with Lana. I told her everything, from the moment I met Emily, how her family forced me to bow down, how I was discarded like trash, and why I had never spoken about it before, because I didn't want to dirty my lips talking about someone who once crushed me. Lana took my hand. "I know, I've always sensed that you weren't perfect, but you're kind. I trust your eyes, not the words of that woman." I held her tight. For the first time in years, I felt someone truly stood by me, unconditionally, without asking for anything in return. When Emily couldn't come between Lana and me with her old tricks, she started posting defamatory stories about me online. A post appeared on a fairly well-known forum in the startup community, a long piece describing a young entrepreneur who manipulates women, lies about his past, scams investors, and plays with emotions. No names mentioned, but people immediately knew it was me. Too many details matched. Rumors started flying. A few former business partners called me. Some kept their distance. Others were concerned. I chose the only path I knew. Truth. I held a public talk, live streamed from my office. I told the whole story. No hiding, no excuses, just the truth. Thousands tuned in. Emily was one of them. I read Emily's letter in my office, under the soft glow of the yellow lamp. Each line felt like a dagger into old memories. She didn't just apologize, she confessed everything. "You were the man I loved most, but I didn't have the courage to stand up for you. I let my parents choose, even when my heart screamed no. Carl never made me feel like I could be myself. When I saw you successful and happy, I couldn't take it, not because I was jealous, but because I knew I was the one who threw away the most precious thing I ever had. I folded the letter. It took me a long while before I could look away from the page. Not because I still loved her, but because I felt a quiet sorrow. Not for Emily, but for the version of myself who once loved so deeply and hurt just as deeply. A few days later, I called Emily. I said, let's meet, not to get back together, but to end things the right way. We sat in the same cafe that once felt familiar. She looked thinner than before, her eyes slightly hollow, but her voice was still soft. I looked into her eyes and said, I don't hate you anymore, but I also can't bring back the trust we once had. My world now has no space left for the past. She nodded. Tears rolled down. I understand. I just wanted your forgiveness so I can forgive myself too. I smiled gently. I forgive you, but forgiveness doesn't mean going back. I wish you peace. We walked away. No hugs, no lingering. Just two people who once loved, now letting go the right way. Lana listened quietly, then asked just one question. Do you still love her? I didn't hesitate. No, I just feel for the man I used to be, and I'm grateful for the woman beside me today. She held me in silence, and in that quiet embrace, we understood each other completely. Life goes on, but now I live with a different mindset. No more bitterness. No more clinging to the past as fuel for success. I work because I love what I do. I love Lana, not to fill a void, but because she deserves a full, wholehearted love from a man who has learned how to forgive and move forward. Not everyone who left you is a villain. Sometimes they were just too weak to hold on. Forgiveness isn't for the person who hurt you. It's for you, so you can be free from the pain. Happiness doesn't come from proving something to your past. It comes from appreciating your present. Family isn't always about blood. Sometimes the one who truly loves you is closer than anyone who shares your DNA. If you've ever been betrayed, if the one you loved once chose a better person because of money, status, or family pressure, remember this. The truth never needs to rush to prove itself. As long as you live with kindness, love sincerely, and don't let bitterness harden your heart, life will guide you exactly where you're meant to be. Thank you for listening to this story. If you saw a piece of yourself in it, allow yourself to feel the pain, and then allow yourself to heal. And if you're already living your happiness, don't let the ghosts of the past pull you back into old darkness. Keep walking, steady and strong.